You had a private island, a private jet called the Lolita Express, phone books with over 1,700 names, presidents, princes, billionaires, scientists, all connected to you. You are the one man who started with nothing. How does a college dropout from Coney Island end up controlling the most powerful people on Earth? This is every level of being Jeffrey Epstein. Level 1, the nobody from Brooklyn. You are Jeffrey Epstein, born the 20th of January, 1953, Coney Island, Brooklyn. Your father works as a Parks Department groundskeeper for the city of New York. You are not wealthy. You are not connected. You are nobody. But you are smart. Dangerously smart. You enroll at Cooper Union, then NYU. You never graduate. Not from either school. No degree, no credentials, nothing on paper that says you matter. But Level 1 Epstein has one asset nobody can measure. A mind that reads people faster than they can read themselves. And that is enough to get a foot in the door. Because what happens next sets the entire machine in motion. Level 2, the teacher who should not be teaching. You are now in 1974. You are 20 years old, no degree, and somehow you talk your way into a teaching position at the Dalton School in Manhattan. The Dalton School, one of the most elite private institutions in New York City. Alumni include Anderson Cooper, Chevy Chase, Claire Danes. The parents of these students are some of the wealthiest families in America. You teach physics and mathematics. You are described by students as charismatic, magnetic, but you do not follow the rules. You are the only teacher known to show up at high school parties where students are drinking. You blur lines from day one. But here is what Dalton gives you that no classroom ever could. Access. One parent notices your intelligence at a conference in 1976. That parent is the son of a student you impressed. He picks up the phone and calls Alan Ace Greenberg, the CEO of Bear Stearns, one of the most powerful investment banks on Wall Street. That one phone call changes everything. Level 3, Wall Street's fastest climber. You walk into Bear Stearns with no degree, and within years you are a limited partner. That title takes most people a decade to earn. You earn it in less. You work in the options trading division. You are aggressive. You study money the way predators study prey. Clients trust you with fortunes because you speak their language, even though you never formally learned it. But the rise at Bear Stearns ends. You leave the firm under murky circumstances involving a regulatory violation. The details are never fully made public. Most people would be finished, career over, reputation ruined. Level 3, Epstein uses the exit to build something bigger. Because while at Bear Stearns, you made a connection that would fund the next decade of your life. And that connection's name was Les Wexner. Level 4, the mysterious billionaire manager. Les Wexner, founder of L Brands, owner of Victoria's Secret, one of the wealthiest retail magnates in America. Wexner gives Epstein something no one has been able to fully explain to this day. Total financial control. Epstein manages Wexner's entire fortune. He is given power of attorney, meaning he can sign documents, move money, and make decisions on Wexner's behalf. Epstein uses this access to acquire a Manhattan townhouse that was previously owned by Wexner himself. The 9-story mansion on East 71st Street becomes one of the most expensive private residences in all of New York City. He pays Wexner $0 for it. How? Nobody fully knows. Epstein founds his own firm, J. Epstein & Co., then later Financial Trust Co., registered in the U.S. Virgin Islands. He claims his only clients are billionaires. That you need a minimum of $1 billion in assets just to get a meeting. But here is what investigators would later discover. Almost no one can explain where Epstein's actual money comes from. His wealth is real. His properties are real. But the financial trail? Deliberately obscured. One victim's attorney would later call it a mystery wrapped inside a crime. And the crime was just getting started. Level 5. The Palm Beach Predator. It begins in Palm Beach, Florida. This is where the wealthy go to retire, to play golf, to disappear from the world. Epstein buys a waterfront mansion, massive, gated, private. Starting as early as 2002, Epstein begins a pattern. He recruits young girls, many of them underage, some as young as 14, to come to his home under the pretense of giving massages. Girls from working-class families, girls who need money, girls who are vulnerable. He pays them. Then he instructs them to find more girls. He builds a pyramid, a human supply chain. By the time Palm Beach police open a criminal investigation in 2005, triggered by the parents of a 4-year-old girl, the FBI identifies 36 girls who were minors at the time of their abuse. 36. And that is only the ones they find quickly. Investigators believe the abuse begins in 2002, at the latest. That means for at least 3 years, no one in Epstein's elite social circle, no one on that contact list, sounds an alarm. What investigators find inside that mansion in 2006 shocks the Palm Beach Police Department to its core. But what happens next in the courtroom shocks the entire country. Level 6, the deal that broke the law. The FBI opens a federal investigation in July 2006. The case is called Operation Leap Year. Agents build a file so powerful that legal experts later say it could have sent Epstein to prison for the rest of his life. Instead, U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta, who will later become Donald Trump's Secretary of Labor, negotiates a secret deal. A non-prosecution agreement. Federal charges are dropped entirely. Epstein pleads guilty to just 2 state counts, soliciting prostitution and soliciting a minor for prostitution. He is sentenced to 18 months. He serves 13 in a private wing of a minimum security county jail, not a federal prison that he essentially pays to staff himself. He is allowed to leave the facility 6 days a week for up to 12 hours a day for work release. His victims, not told the deal is happening. The agreement is filed under seal. One victim, Courtney Wild, who was 14 when Epstein first abused her, later stands before a federal judge and says, "Jeffrey Epstein sexually abused me for years, robbing me of my innocence and mental health." She says this because no one told her justice had already been quietly buried. A Department of Justice review later concludes Acosta showed poor judgment, but no charges are ever brought against Acosta. Epstein walks out in 2009, and he does not slow down. Level 7, the Black Book. You now have 2 physical phone books. Investigators will later call them the Black Books. Together they contain more than 1,700 names. Presidents, prime ministers, billionaires, royals, scientists, celebrities, media figures. Bill Clinton flies on Epstein's private jet, later dubbed the Lolita Express, 26 times after leaving the White House, according to flight logs. Donald Trump socializes with Epstein at Mar-a-Lago. A 2000 photograph shows Trump, Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Melania Knauss together at the Palm Beach resort. Prince Andrew, whose royal titles King Charles would later strip in October 2025, is photographed with his arm around Virginia Giuffre when she is a teenager. Andrew denies wrongdoing. Bill Gates meets Epstein multiple times after Epstein's 2008 conviction, later calling it a huge mistake. Harvard professors Alan Dershowitz, Larry Summers, and linguist Noam Chomsky all maintain contact with Epstein years after his guilty plea. Emails released by the House Oversight Committee in 2025 reveal Epstein casually arranging meetings with ambassadors, tech giants, foreign businessmen, and film directors, sometimes all in the same week from his private residences. In 2019, Vanity Fair reports that, according to an ex-girlfriend, Epstein once said, "I control everyone and everything. I collect people. I own people. I can damage people." He is not bragging. He is describing a system. And at the center of that system is a woman who makes the whole operation run. Level 8, Ghislaine Maxwell. Her name is Ghislaine Maxwell, daughter of the late British media tycoon Robert Maxwell. She meets Epstein in 1991. They become romantically involved. When the romance fades, the partnership does not. Maxwell becomes Epstein's primary recruiter, his socialite cover, his key to British high society and European royal circles. She introduces him to rooms he could never enter alone. Prosecutors will later describe her as central to the entire trafficking operation. She grooms victims. She normalizes abuse. She helps recruit underage girls and participates directly in their exploitation. Jean-Luc Brunel, a French modeling agent, is also funded by Epstein in 2004 to launch MC2 Model Management. Multiple victims testify that Brunel uses the modeling industry as a pipeline, recruiting girls internationally and delivering them to Epstein. Brunel is later arrested in France and dies by suicide in his cell at La Santé prison in Paris in 2022, before his trial concludes. Epstein's operation does not just touch one city or one country. It spans Palm Beach, New York, New Mexico, Paris, London, the Caribbean. But the darkest location of all sits 40 miles off the coast of St. Thomas. Level 9, Little St. James. The island is called Little St. James. Epstein purchases it in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Locals begin calling it something else, Pedophile Island. The island has a private airstrip, a main house, guest structures, and a strange blue and white striped temple-like building whose purpose has never been publicly confirmed. Flight logs show that famous names travel to the island repeatedly. Some visits are documented, many are not. Boat logs, which could account for visitors who never fly in, remain among the records the government has not fully released as of early 2026. Epstein also owns a 7,500-acre ranch in Stanley, New Mexico, Zorro Ranch, where he allegedly fantasizes aloud about populating the world with his DNA by impregnating women there. A 2019 New York Times report documents that he speaks openly to scientists about this vision, which he frames as part of a transhumanist philosophy. He donates money to Harvard, to MIT. He funds science. He attends the annual Billionaires Dinner at the TED Conference in Monterey, California, from 2000 to as late as 2011 years after his 2008 conviction. These dinners allow him to mingle with startup founders, Nobel laureates, and tech billionaires. The event's funder, Epstein himself, as documented in his tax filings. Power does not just tolerate Epstein at this level, power seeks him out. And now, an investigative reporter in Miami is about to blow the entire thing open. Level 10, The Fall. In November 2018, the Miami Herald publishes a series by journalist Julie K. Brown. She speaks with approximately 80 women who say they were sexually abused by Epstein between 2001 and 2006. The reporting is meticulous. It is devastating. It forces federal prosecutors in New York to act. On the 6th of July, 2019, Epstein lands at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey on his private jet returning from Paris. Federal agents are waiting. He is arrested. Charged with 2 federal counts, sex trafficking of minors and conspiracy to commit sex trafficking of minors. The indictment alleges some victims are as young as 14. 20 federal law enforcement officers simultaneously execute search warrants at his Manhattan townhouse. What they find inside photographs and other materials confirms the worst. Epstein pleads not guilty. He faces up to 45 years in prison. He is denied bail. He is placed at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. Alexander Acosta resigns as Secretary of Labor within days. On the 10th of August 2019, just 36 days after his arrest, Jeffrey Epstein is found dead in his jail cell. The official ruling: suicide by hanging. The two guards assigned to check on him every 30 minutes had both fallen asleep. The security cameras outside his cell malfunction. He has taken off suicide watch days earlier despite a previous incident in his cell. The case is closed 19 days later. His victims never get their day in court. Level 11. What remains? Ghislaine Maxwell is arrested in July 2020. She is convicted in December 2021 of sex trafficking, conspiracy, and transportation of a minor for illegal sexual activity. She is sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. Epstein's estate, valued at over $577 million at the time of his death, is used to compensate victims. More than 200 survivors, represented by victims' rights attorney Brad Edwards, recover hundreds of millions of dollars through litigation against the estate and financial institutions. JP Morgan Chase and Deutsche Bank both face legal scrutiny. JP Morgan maintains a relationship with Epstein and his accounts, despite knowing of his 2008 conviction. Deutsche Bank holds up to 40 accounts tied to Epstein's activity, as detailed in files released in 2026. In November 2025, the U.S. House of Representatives passes the Epstein Files Transparency Act. The Senate approves it unanimously. President Trump signs it into law. In January 2026, the Department of Justice releases over 3 million pages of documents, the largest single-day document release in the case's history. The files reveal banking records, travel logs, emails, contact lists. They pull names from the shadows. Prince Andrew's titles are stripped by King Charles in October 2025, following renewed revelations of his connection to Epstein and allegations he participated in abuse of minors. British peer Peter Mandelson resigns from the House of Lords in February 2026 after being named in the files. A United Nations Human Rights Council panel states that the Epstein files suggest a global criminal enterprise. A victim's rights attorney once told a federal judge 17 years before anyone fully understood the scale that because of Epstein's deviant appetite for young girls, combined with his extraordinary wealth and power, he may just be the most dangerous sexual predator in U.S. history. Nobody listened then. The world is listening now. Level 1. A groundskeeper's son from Coney Island. $47 in his pocket and a brain that terrified everyone who got close enough to see it work. Level 11. A dead man whose name is still on the lips of presidents, parliaments, and panels at the United Nations. The most chilling part of the Jeffrey Epstein story is not the island. It is not the black book. It is not even the deal that let him walk. It is this. Every person who ever flew on that jet, signed that book, attended that party, or took that money made a choice. Some made it in ignorance. Some made it knowing exactly what Epstein was. The files are still being read. The names are still coming out. The story is not over. It never really ended. It just moved underground. And now, level by level, the ground is finally giving way. Disclaimer: this script is based on verified public records, including FBI investigation files, DOJ Office of Professional Responsibility reports, Miami Herald investigative reporting, U.S. federal court documents, House Oversight Committee releases, Epstein Files Transparency Act disclosures, 2025-2026, and statements from victims' attorneys and survivors.